Hi everyone, and welcome back to Purpose to Love. My name is Randy, and I want to take a few minutes today just to talk about sensory and tactile defensiveness in regards to gardening and planting. And then at the end, I will show you how everything is going on my patio garden. It's going. It could be maybe a little bit better, but you know, first time trying to do all this, so it's trial and error. But I'll let you guys see some pictures and some videos of how everything is turning out. All right, let's get started. So first off, you know, this video I really want to encourage, you know, families, guardians, direct care professionals, teachers, whoever works with students or adults with disabilities, or someone who has some type of tactile defensiveness. So for those of you who don't know, tactile defensiveness is really just, you know, really just for someone who doesn't like the way certain things feel on their skin, certain textures. It can be very overwhelming to their sensory system, and it makes them uncomfortable. And so sometimes with that can cause like behaviors and outbursts and things like that, or just changes in mood, right? They just don't like the way something feels. And so you can imagine if you're wearing something really itchy, it makes you feel really gross and like you're like trying to come out of your skin kind of thing. So that's kind of what tactile defensiveness is. And so within the realm of special education, like for our students who do have tactile defensiveness, or within the realm of, you know, those with special needs, we try to do things that will help aid their tolerance to different tactile surfaces or experiences and how they feel about certain sensory items. And so a lot of that looks like, you know, practice, right? And like getting exposure to different sensations and feelings, sounds, smells, taste. And so I do think that gardening is a great way to do that. So I would like to show you how that works. So sensory, as you know, like we have so many different senses. We have touch, taste, smell, sight, hearing. I think that's it, right? Touch, taste, smell, sight, hearing. All the different senses, right? So, so with gardening, you get all of that at once, which is really, really cool. So when you're gardening, I think I've mentioned it in previous videos, when you're like utilizing soil or different textures. I think I mentioned in one video, if you have an individual who doesn't like the feeling of soil or dirt, they can wear gloves, and you can start off that way. Sometimes you want to ease into the different exposures to different textures. So if I had a student who didn't like the way dirt felt, and I had a couple, I would try to slowly, you know, introduce these different feelings to them as often as I could. So I didn't have a garden when I was teaching, but if I was like out on a community trip, like out in the community doing something, we go to the park or something like that, I would try to be like, oh, like let's feel some grass, let's sit on the grass. Some students really hated the feeling of sitting on the grass. Actually, there's a lot of people who don't like the sensation of grass, especially that prickly kind of a grass. So anyways, I would try to just introduce things to them slowly but surely. So one thing I really like is, for example, with certain plants, they have a really awesome smell. This is lavender. And if you pinch off like a leaf of lavender and you kind of rub it through your fingers, first of all, it's really, really soft. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's very soft looking. You can tell it's kind of almost kind of has a little fuzz on it, so it's really soft. But when you rub the leaf, it smells so good. You can smell the calming, soothing smell or scent of lavender. So this is a really nice one, lavender. There's different herbs like lemongrass and peppermint and eucalyptus. All those things are really great, and they're relatively easy to take care of. Some of them do need to be outside longer than others, but if you do your research, you'll learn what can be indoors longer than other plants, and you can kind of pick and choose what you'd like to utilize with your student or your child, that way. Even doing planting certain plants like a tomato plant, they actually also have a very tomatoey scent. So let me see if I can show you. So the leaves are very soft as well. They kind of have a little hairiness on them. I don't know if you can tell. But if you rub the leaves, they give off a very strong scent as well. And I like the smell of it. Some might, some may not. But again, it's just trial and error, just exposing them to different types of scents and sensations and touch. So different herbs can produce different smells, which can release certain chemicals in your mind, in your brain, to give more of a calming effect or wake you up. I don't personally know if I've really experienced a specific smell that does more or less of something, doesn't make me feel more calm or more awake. I'm trying to think. Lavender does definitely have a calming effect, and I would say so does eucalyptus. Almost eucalyptus makes me feel like I can breathe a little bit better. Lemongrass or lemon scents, I do feel like sometimes I'm a little bit more more productive, more energetic, and that one is supposed to kind of wake you up. So different scents do offer different benefits, and for some people they may be more sensitive to it, so they may feel more of a benefit than others, but it is something to try. You never know. But it also just smells good. Like, who doesn't want to have like a clean, lemony smell, in their home or workplace, right? Or a really soft, gentle lavender smell. Like, it smells good, so why not? So that's one aspect of sensory and utilizing plants with, or utilizing plants for sensory purposes, the smells of things. But also, again, the texture. Certain leaves feel softer than others. I have a new obsession with succulents. I don't know if you guys can see these guys here. They're really pretty color. But these are pearl succulents, and they're called pearl succulents because there's these little balls and they're like pearls. But I do love succulents, and they feel fun. They come in different textures, different shapes and sizes, and they're pretty sturdy. So this succulent here, this one is called a zebra succulent. I think it has a more intense name, but I don't know it. But the other name it goes by is a zebra plant. And it's a lot sturdier, and it has these really cool ridges on there, and they're kind of bumpy. I like it, and the tops aren't spiky, but they do have like a pointier edge, so it does come off a little bit more spiky. But all these different things offer a really nice practice for tactile defensiveness. Just exposure to different surfaces, rough, smooth, jagged, pointy, all these different terms you can start to talk about with your child or your student, and it just offers up more opportunity to expose them to different words, physical experiences, smells, things like that. The students I taught in my classes actually had a visual impairment, or they were blind, so most of my students had some vision but not full vision, and so there is a lot of word description, like, oh, feel this pearl succulent. This pearl succulent is round, and it's smooth, like really articulating and describing what they're feeling, for them to have a better visual understanding of it. And it also helps them to be aware of, learning what different textures and surfaces feel like. So I'm teaching them what this pearl succulent feels like. It's smooth and it's round. Now they have more of a concept of, oh, other things can be round other than a ball or other than a coin. Like plants can be round, you know? So like it just opens up their mind a little bit more to what's really out there. And then so we have touch, we have smell, and we talked a little bit about vision. We can talk about the color of the plant. Oh, this plant is green. The soil is brown, you know, talking about those different things. And when you have a plant that produces pretty flowers, even though this one is a little dried out, but you can kind of see there, I don't know if you guys can see, but the pretty purple. We can talk about the colors of plants. We can talk about a tomato is red and this pepper is orange. So there's so much that can be done with, you know, plants and, you know, what they have to offer in terms of teaching us. So we talked about touch, we talked about smell, we talked about vision, what they could see or describe, and hearing. So, you know, being outside, being in nature does offer so much auditory input. So right now I hear the trees rustling, I hear birds chirping. That's just another level of an opportunity to teach your student or your child, like, oh, that sounds like this kind of a bird. Or maybe they become really interested in birds and you guys can start learning about different types of birds. You know, just being outside offers so much to learn from just by what's in your immediate environment. So take advantage. So when I was working at a day program, we were in a busy area and there were cars going by, sometimes sirens, you know, that might disrupt or interrupt our peaceful, you know, outside experience. But that was good too. Like, it was good to have a moment of peace and quiet, but then hear a siren go by and say, oh, that was a fire truck that just went by, and, you know, talking about that, or, you know, just letting whatever happens in nature kind of come up and then being able to utilize that as a learning and teaching experience. So taste. So when your plants start to grow and produce fruit, when you start to get the tomato plant to grow a tomato and your pepper plant to grow some peppers or cucumbers, then, you know, you can start tasting everything. Oh, this is what we were watering a few months ago and it was just a baby seed, and then it grew into a really tall plant, and remember we felt the leaves and it smelled like this, and now there's this big red juicy tomato on there and we get to eat it. Let's try it. And even that offers up opportunity for someone who has tactile defensiveness to try and learn and experience something new. So for example, a tomato, on the outside it's smooth and that's probably not too bad, but when you cut it open, it's juicy, it's a little slimy, there's seeds, and the texture of it, for some people, they don't like the way it tastes, right? Not just the taste, but the texture. I can sometimes be like that with certain foods. I don't like certain textures of foods. I used to have a hard time with avocado. Now I love it, but it took me time to practice liking it. But avocado, I still have a hard time eating tomatoes just like an apple. Some people can just bite into a tomato. I know my mom, she loves tomatoes. She could just bite into it, or a cherry tomato. She could pop it in her mouth and it's fine. I have to cut it up, you know, in a half or a quarter before I can eat it. Just too much at once. But again, tasting the different things that you're growing offers up opportunity to learn different tastes, but also textures. Same with herbs. You know, you can try some peppermint tea or lemongrass tea or whatever. You know, there's so many really awesome opportunities when it comes to sensory and gardening and growing through their tactile defensiveness, you know. So as promised, I wanted to show you guys what's been going on with the patio garden. So let's take a look. But I got our tomato guy here, the one that was really holding it down and pulling it together. He's doing really well, and as you can see, he's grown so much. He's kind of like to the second, above the second part of this little cage here, and so he's grown so much. You can see that he looks really strong and sturdy. I've had to go in, I'll try to zoom in so you guys can see, but I've had to go in and try to clear out some of these little suckers here. That's what they're called. I was taught that when you're growing tomato plants, you want to be able to clear out some of these guys here, these little branches that grow between the stem, the main stem, and these other little branches here, because they suck the energy out of the plant. And I want to bring as much energy to this plant as possible so we can grow some healthy tomatoes. And over here you see this new looking plant. This is actually a pepper plant. My other plants just didn't make it, right? I think I told you guys before, my pepper plants just weren't making it, so I went and bought one that was already started, and this one looked really healthy. This one, I think the sun is just really strong on this patio. I don't know if you guys can tell, but it's a little sunburnt there, but they're holding it together, so I'm still just trying to see how they do. I've moved them to the side of the patio instead of right here where it used to be. I moved everything over to the side so they get a little bit more shade towards the afternoon. And then this one here is going to be a cucumber plant. As you can see, again, it's a little sunburnt. I didn't get them like this. They're actually like really pretty and green. I still think they're holding it down. I still think that they're doing okay. Some more leaves are growing underneath, and so this is adding a little coverage and shade, so maybe that will help the rest of the plant to grow. So yes, we shall see. So I have another tomato plant right here that actually was doing okay. It's a little slow in growing, but I'm gonna give it some time. Ooh, sorry, it's windy. I'm gonna give it a little time and see how it does. And but yeah, it's kind of holding it together. It's getting a lot of sun here, but not as much as if it was against this fence. So yeah. And last but not least, we have our lettuce here. So our red lettuce that was growing so nicely is, still trying to produce some things. I actually got to go in there and trim some of this off, but it's starting to grow little flowers here. I don't know if, can you see that? There you guys go. Starting to grow some little flowers there. And so when it gets to about this stage, then it's kind of on its way out. Like, it's pretty much done growing, I think, for the season. So we got to call it quits on that one. This I had to cut down. It was just not doing well anymore. The kale is okay, but again, I think it's about done for the season. And I had to cut this one all the way down because there were like some gross bugs growing in there, and it was looking nasty. And it just wasn't producing much of anything anymore. So yeah, that is my little update. But that is all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was interesting. Try to go to your local nursery and see what they have in terms of different plants that you guys can explore and play around with, and something maybe that's sturdy and low maintenance to start, like succulents. Succulents are really easy, low maintenance, and they're fun to look at, easy to take care of. Maybe you water them once a week or so. In the summertime, maybe a little bit more. You can find some plants that can go inside or outside. These two succulent plants actually we keep inside. I just bought them outside so that I could show you guys. For watching, and if you have any questions on or comments on sensory or tactile defensiveness, and how it relates to gardening, or your experiences, please let me know. Leave a comment below, and I hope to see you guys soon. And just remember, you are purposed to love. All right, bye.